Welcome back for our very last session of the season. Today I want to share with you how to make some watercolor landscapes with mountains and flowers and trees and bushes, and hopefully you'll enjoy that. And I've really enjoyed having you as part of my life this year. I hope you'll come back next year and join me. All new projects, all new experiences, all new mediums, and I would love to have you back as well. All right, you'll need to prepare a piece of paper like we did last week. Tape it to a cereal board, wet it all the way, let it dry all the way, and then you'll be ready to jump into this project. This one's a lot of fun to do. It looks a lot fancier. It looks hard, but it's not hard. It's easy. So hopefully you'll be able to make some beautiful artwork with these ideas. You'll need your watercolor paint. You'll need your wolf brush. We're going to use it in ways it wasn't meant to be used, but it'll do the trick for us. We're going to use our normal watercolor brush that I sent home and a little cup of water. All right, I'll see you at the art desk. So I've got my prepared piece of paper. I've taped it down to a piece of cardboard from a cereal box, and I've completely wet it and let it dry all the way. And I showed you more about how to do that and some thoughts and tricks for the tape in the last video, so be sure to review that. And you're also going to need more paper. I'm going to begin by wetting my normal watercolor brush, and I'm going to kind of add some water to the top. Oh, you know what, that's just not enough water. I'm going to grab my wolf brush. Now remember, this isn't how they're meant to be used at all, but because I sent home little packs from COVID-19 and I don't really want to encourage you guys to have to go buy anything, we're just kind of using this in a different way. It'll get the job done for us. Okay, I'm going to go into a blue. You can pick whatever blue you want. And we're just going to add a little blue there. And I'm not really going to put a lot. I really just want a slight touch of blue. It's going to be kind of our background. And I'm going to set that aside. And I don't need to let it dry all the way, but it'll give it a chance to kind of seep in. And I've got another piece of paper. And what I'm going to do is rip. And I want, when I rip and tear, to keep pulling and pushing in a way that there's a lot of movement. I don't really want a straight across rip. And that leaves me another one, and I'm going to rip that again, trying to get as much movement as I can into my pieces. Okay, so I've got one working edge here. This is another choice, another working edge. And one here and one here. So I've got some choices here, and these are what's going to help me make some mountains. And I'm going to pick one. I'll pick this one, and I want to keep that torn edge pointing down. And I'm going to kind of just set that on top of the blue, and you can see how then it could form the top of our mountain. Always when you're doing this, be painting down, 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 down. Don't be flicking up in this situation. We want to keep going down. And I'm going to bring this a little higher, I think. And I'm going to use purple. So I'm going to use my normal watercolor brush. I'm going to wet the purple. Now I'm not really making a full pond inside of the purple paint. I'm just waking it up a little, because I do want the color a little bit stronger here. And I'm going to paint down, 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 down. And I could even kind of bring those off to the side. I just want to make sure I'm definitely hitting my edge. There. I'm going to keep doing that. Go. And I just want to make sure I've really made sure to get right up to the edge and going downward. And I'm going to be pulling my paint a little bit because I think that look is interesting. And so I'm going to kind of pull that paint down. And ideally, if I was a very patient person, I would wait until that's completely dry, but I'm not. If you wait till it's dry, you're going to get a nice crisp edge for sure. I'm taking a little risk there. But I actually don't mind kind of that misty mountain look. So I'm gonna, I like it. I'm gonna enjoy that. But if you like a crisper, harder edge, you would want to wait till it's dry and then come back again. Now I'm going to pick a different working edge, and I'm going to bring that, kind of play around with what it could look like here. And I think I'm going to rip it a little bit more to see if I can make the edges even more. And I think that'll be all right. And I'm going to set that down. I don't know. You kind of have to think about it in your mind as you go. Oh, I think I could like that. And what I'm going to do now is wet my brush. And I think I'm going to go for a deeper blue here. And again, I'm right along the edge pulling down. I'm adding a little purple there. That wasn't on purpose. That was actually kind of a mistake. But I think it could still look great, so it's nothing I'm going to stress about. And I'm going to keep pulling paint. And in this situation, I really want a thick load of paint on my brush more than just water or water mixed with paint. So I'm kind of putting just enough water in it to keep it moving. All right. And now I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to kind of pull that with my finger. When you do that, be really gentle. You don't want to tear your paper. When the paper's wet like this, especially kind of this cheap copy paper, it is going to want to tear easily, and you don't want that right now. All right, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go in and take some green, and it really doesn't matter what you choose. You might like something different than I do, and so you're welcome to kind of play around. I'm going to add some green here. Some green down here. Again, just be mindful of your paper. Like I can see it's kind of starting to rip there, which is fine. That'll just mean this one's more of a practice where I'm interested in what's going to happen with the colors and experimenting with different amounts of paint. Now this hill, I'm kind of imagining it going downward this way and maybe downward this way. So you kind of want to imagine, like if you were on a sled sliding, how would that go? And then let your brush kind of reflect the path the sled would take so that it'll look like that mountain definitely has some dimension and some shape of its own. All right, I haven't used much warm color yet, and I think probably now's a good time to liven this up with a little bit of warmth. So I'm going to bring some yellow in over here. Oh, let's see, maybe throw in a bit here. Again, I'm always moving my brush thinking about if it was a sled and I was sliding down, how would it move? Where would that sled have to go? Put a little in there. All right, I'm pretty happy with that so far. Okay, so now I kind of want to think about, I'm not going to move this right now. I'm going to see if I can get that crisp edge I was telling you about. I think I'll put this here, kind of creating another layer that'll be most close to the viewer there. And I'm going to go, I think I'll be doing different combinations of green on this edge. And I'm always moving down, 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 down. And I think I'm going to put in some yellow at this as well. All right. And I think I'm gonna even bring in a little peach neutral, kind of that sand color. You might have some on your palette, otherwise maybe the yellow orange would do nicely as well. So I'm just gonna add in some of that nice sand color. Alright, so I've put a little sand color there, and I've given it a few minutes. It's not dry, but it's had time to sink in. And so I'm going to pull these up and see where I am on this. Alright, okay, so it's definitely created some, we've got the sky, we've got some distant mountains in the background. Now I don't feel like that blended in a bit too much, so I'm going to see if I can go take a little bit of heavy paint and make a definite edge there. So I'm thinking about the edge of that, and then I'm thinking about how a sled would move if I was up there with a sled. Like a sled here, it could move that way. If I do that, it's going to shape and carve the mountain differently than if I go a different direction. So all of these little brush strokes make a difference as to what's going to happen. Now this was kind of a little accident, but it kind of looks like we've got some sun shining through there, which is interesting. So I might just put a little bit of yellow there. So you might look for little things that happen in your work as you go. Okay, so I'm enjoying the way that's looking. I'm going to keep going. And I think the next thing I want to do is kind of create some movement here. And definitely kind of have an end to these hills down here. So I'm continuing to enjoy kind of the shape and motion of the colors and playing and learning what happens when I add a color or go a certain direction, or if there's too much water or not enough water. So kind of pay attention to what is happening and why is it happening as you explore this. I wanted again to create kind of a path there, maybe even what you could think of as a walking trail. So I'm using a little brown here, putting in a little blue. Edging there. Alright, well, maybe a little more brown there. and now let's think about the front. And what I think I want to do now is let's put something in the front, some flowers to look at maybe. And because I want those flowers to not kind of bleed off into the rest of the page, I'm going to stop here in a moment. I want to take a few more looks at kind of what's going on with these mountains. Play with them just a bit more, and then I'm going to stop and let the whole thing dry. So when you feel like you've got your background accomplished, and it's just the way you want it, then leave it. So then we can put something in the foreground. In this case, I think we're gonna do some flowers. Something warm, because we've used a lot of cool and neutral colors here. But we haven't added anything for warmth. And I think that could be giving it that little bit of pop that we need. I might put in some brown here. Kind of giving that a little bit of the illusion of some shape and rockiness there. Maybe here at the bottom of the yellow. And there, I'm just kind of pulling down with the brown a little bit. Allowing those things to kind of separate and look like there's definite succession of mountains and hills there. Okay, I think I'm about ready to stop. There's a line. There's a place here where the line of the mountain is melting into the hill, and I think a lot of people would like that. I just don't quite want that, and so I want to create kind of a pool of color here, adding water. Because I want it to be very light, but I want to go in there and define that a bit. And so I'm kind of going back into that, making sure I'm kind of getting the edge of where that paper used to be and giving it just a touch more definition. Now this really does look like it's melting into the sky. There's some purple hill there, and I really kind of like that. But I'm gonna kind of lightly speckle it so that it's certain that that's not a purple cloud, that it's definitely a hill that's receding back. And I think I'll do the same over here. Again, I'm not dipping right out of the paint tray. I've kind of made a light mixture here, so that I don't have I don't want to create too strong a contrast back here. I want to keep it a secret that I've gone back in there to kind of rework it a bit. All right, okay, so I'll meet you back here in a few minutes. I'm going to let this dry and come back and we'll finish this area, adding some flowers in front. All right, I'm back, and this is not completely dry, but close enough. So we'll go ahead and continue. I am taking my normal brush, and I'm going to select one of the bright, warm colors. I've got a red-orange, a magenta, a red. Any of those will be fine for this, I think. And I'm going to load my brush. And I think I'll come over here, and I'm just going to set it down. I'm going to set it down a few times. more of the tip of my brush. And I think I'll go in and pick up some of this red too. And I'm just going to kind of dance around it with the tip of my brush. And I have a lot more paint on my brush than water at this point because I don't really want this to slide around. I don't want any drip effect. I really just want it to stay put. So again, I'm just kind of pouncing with my brush around those center points that we made, creating the bulk of the flower. And if I go in different ways around it, it'll look like the flowers are opening up in different directions. Okay, so I've got that done. And I need to let that dry and settle before I put in the stems. After I put in the stems, we're going to add the rest of this foreground here and we'll be finished. I'm back and this is all dried. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to load the tip of my brush with green. If you have a dark green, choose that. And I'm just going to whisk it down, 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 down. Trying to make the thinnest line I can. And I'm just going to let these fall to the ground. There. You can go back in and pick up a little, maybe some brown if you have it. And a lot more paint than water at this point. Add some lines in there. All right, so now we've got our flowers, and we just need to finish this part that's going to be closest to the viewer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my brown, and I'm going to kind of define that edge. And then I'm going to pull down from the edge. And then here I'm going to start to change directions a bit. And that change and pull, so here I was pulling that way, here I was pulling more straight up and down, here I'm letting it curve that way. It makes it look like the rocks have crags in them, which is a really pretty and fun effect. So I'm going to grab a little more of the sand color. I'm going to fill in up there. I'm not going to get too precise about filling in every little bit there. A little green mixed in, it wasn't quite dry enough yet. That's okay, I'm just going to rinse my brush and continue. Kind of pulling things in different directions. Allowing the rocks to form. There we go. Take that all the way to the edge. There we go. And now this is a little too white for my tastes. Rather than dip into there and then stick it straight up onto the paper, I do want to again kind of do this off to the side. I think I'll pick this up. I can use the lid as a mixing tray. I often will just use a little bit of paper, but people usually use the lids as a mixing tray. So I'm mixing my water and my paint. I just want to make sure when I put it on there, it doesn't go on too thick and blobby, because I don't really want to mess up what I've already started there, the flowers. I just want to create a little bit of sense of unity there. So I'm going in now, and it's way more water than paint. All right, and now I feel like I've got something I really enjoy doing. I feel like it's pretty complete. There's a lot of layers going all the way back to the sky for the eye to kind of wander around on, and I like that idea. Another thing you could do at this point is you could bump up the highlights just a little bit if you want to, and add another layer of highlights. I think that's about the only other thing I would do now. I think I'll be done after I've bumped up the highlights just a little bit. There we go. All right. Well, I can't wait to see what you did. Please definitely email me at missapronstrings@gmail.com if you did the project. I'd love to celebrate your work with you. I hope you'll come back and join me in the fall. We'll have all new projects, all new tools to play with and explore, and I hope to see you then. We'll begin in September. Bye-bye.